All right, so today we have two special guests joining us, and those are, of course, the creators of The Dragon Prince, Aaron EHASZ and Justin Richmond. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Justin Richmond. Nice to meet you guys.
And I'm Aaron EHASZ. Great to see you again.
Cool.
All right, so now that season 6 has come out, how are you feeling like that season 6 has come out and the season 7, which has been teased before?
The question, how are you feeling, is better for you, maybe. How are you feeling now that season 6 has come out?
I mean, well, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was probably like one of the best seasons.
That's awesome.
Cool, thank you.
We got to see, we showed it at Comic-Con. We got to show all of season 6 at Comic-Con in San Diego, which was really fun. We got to have an audience come in and watch it with us, which was amazing. Because usually we're all just kind of watching it on our own, and doing notes, and getting to actually see it with like a crowd of people was really fun. And hear them like laugh and cry and react to all this stuff was really, really fun. And then we announced
there were people sobbing at the end. It was good. Amazing.
Yeah, because in our previous interview, you guys mentioned that you did do like a watch party in SDCC. I think there was like 2 panels, and you did one with a watch party.
Yeah,
that's right. We had the night before the panel. We had 100 people show up and watch it with us, which was awesome. And then we did the big panel the next day.
But that's really cool, like to have like multiple people like watching at once, because usually it just goes on Netflix and then only like some of us get to watch it, but like get to watch it together. That's pretty cool.
Agreed, 100%.
My favorite way to watch something that I've been looking forward to is I get Oreo ice cream. Justin, you don't even know this.
I don't know this. I've never heard this.
With magic shell, because I love you pour that liquid on, and I'm not gonna lie because I'll reveal my secret method for magic shell. You pour the liquid magic shell on top of the Oreo ice cream, and then you flip it so that you're on the bottom.
Okay.
And you pour it again. So now you have a full shell
enclosed.
Magic shell enclosed ice cream. And that is my favorite method for watching something I've really been looking forward to. And I've been doing that since I was a kid because my dad, for some reason, would buy ice cream and magic shell, and then we would watch a movie or whatever.
That's awesome.
Back in the VHS tape days, sentimental and share that.
That's great. I got to try it. I'm going to do that next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we need to try that next time.
We try
Yeah, exactly.
Season 7, we could just try that.
Yeah. Cool.
As seasons 4 through 6 passed, the show has noticeably gotten a lot darker in tone. In episode 8, which is probably the darkest episode of the show so far, Katalis, of course, gets burned down by Laurelion, and of course, season 7 is titled Dark. Can you tell us a bit about your storytelling goals for this part of the Dragon Prince saga, as well as what fans can expect for season 7?
I think we were following the characters is what we always kind of do, and so we were following the path of where Claudia's sort of journey, that whole team of people's journey was going, right? And as Viren separated more and more from what Claudia was doing, it actually increased the cycle of her pushing away from him, right? And rejecting because he was saying stop, and gave up, and he went to Katalis and all of these things to take at least a little bit of ownership over what he had done, right? And so being able to go into that more was awesome, having enough time to have both sides of the story being told at once. And so we always knew that when Aaravos got out, it was going to be a really big deal. And how to get there. We always kind of knew what was going to happen, but it was how exactly were we going to get there? So we got to follow the characters down those paths. And then just a shout out to all the actors, but particularly Jason Simpson, who plays Viren, and Raquel Belmonte, who plays Claudia, both gave world-class performances, I think, in those episodes in particular, to really sell what was going on. And then we always knew that book 7 was going to be dark, and so we kind of had to set that up heading into the last season. So, actually, I don't know if that's true. There might have been a moment where book 6 was going to be dark and we were going to have 7 be stars, but I can't remember. A long before we ever actually laid out the plot.
There was also a version where book 6 stars was going to conclude. We were going to structure it slightly differently, and it was going to conclude the whole Mystery of Aaravos arc, and then we were going to try to do an entire arc in book 7, but changed from that. So.
Oh yeah, I think I kind of remember that you guys like had like a plan. I think you might have shown it at a panel if I'm remembering correctly, that you had a plan for like a phase 1, phase 2, and then season 7 was like its own phase. Like I think I remember that. I don't know if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, that's right. You nailed it.
Yeah.
There's a graphic floating
And
around.
the plan, the plan has
Sorry.
evolved once or twice. So
Yeah.
we've tried to keep people updated as it's evolved a bit so that they understand how the story is being told. But yeah.
If you want some real inside baseball, the original idea was it was only going to be 2 seasons of 12, right, Aaron? Or 2 seasons of...
I don't know that was the original idea. That's what
they
originally bought.
Yeah, they bought that number of minutes, and then we ended up splitting it up differently.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think when we went in, they said, well, how big is the story? And at that time we said it's 6 seasons.
That's right. Yeah.
And they said, well, we can't buy 6 seasons.
Right.
We'll buy 2. And they bought 2 seasons of 12.
Yeah.
And then we said, well, we can tell a clearer arc if you can make it 3 seasons of 9. And they said, oh, sure, let's do it. Because in those days, they were really flexible. If we had a creative rationale or goal, they were very supportive of that.
Yeah, so I guess like moving on to the next question, thank you for sharing about, I guess, like some insight into the creative process.
Yeah.
That's definitely really interesting to hear about. Sort of on the topic of dark magic, our next question is about the cursed coins. So we know that in season 6, Rayla chose to free Runan rather than her parents using one of the 2 Quasar diamonds from the Crown of the Heavens. So that obviously leaves 1 Quasar diamond unused. And we know that Kapar is obviously still trapped in a coin due to giving up dark magic. So since season 7 is called Dark and explores dark magic, will we see more of Kapar or his backstory in season 7?
I don't think we should say, but I will say I love that you're tracking that there's a coin, the coin that we know about that still has someone trapped in it. I think, and we know there's 1 Quasar diamond left. And we also saw Callum pick up the coin after Runan is freed and see that it's a blank. So we also have a coin that is a blank. And that's the important thing to know going into season 7.
Yeah, because I also noticed that in like the finale, Callum looks really mysteriously at the empty coin as if he has like an idea. So I'm pretty sure that might be important, right, for season 7?
Well, at the very least, we wanted the audience to know, it wasn't just destroyed in that sequence. It's here. What does that mean? Is it, you can kind of speculate about that, and that specifically to see that Callum is aware that it has changed.
So yeah, that's really interesting. And I can't wait to see, well, if he is coming back, I can't wait to see Kapar. Okay, so now let's talk about Aaravos. So in season 6, we of course learned that Aaravos' backstory and about his daughter Leola, but in the show's lore, the Archdragons referred to Aaravos as a fallen star. However, it is Leola, not Aaravos, who falls to Earth and is cast out of the heavens. Is there another reason Aaravos is referred to as a fallen star, and is there more to uncover about his story in season 7?
I would say that those ideas rhyme poetically or literarily in kind of like not in the sense of like an actual words rhyming, but in the sense of the fact that his daughter is literally fallen and he's more metaphorically fallen. I would say is the connection that both matter.
So it's like a symbolic connection, maybe?
Yeah, thematic connection. Yep, that's right.
Got it.
So while we are on the topic of Startouch elves, we also wanted to ask about the mysterious Startouch elf Laurelion, who has been mentioned along with the Nova Blade in previous seasons. In season 6, we find out that a human, maybe the Orphan Queen, I don't know, but that's just speculation, took the Nova Blade from the Starscraper in the past. Will the story of Laurelion and this human be explored in future seasons, or will he remain sort of a mystery for now?
It's not like this. We know the story of what happens. Like we have the story in mind for those events. You will probably not see that very much, is what I will say. You're
saying of the human,
the human. Yeah,
who is the Orphan Queen?
It is the Orphan Queen. Yeah. So,
but Laurelion.
Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
You go.
There's two sides of it basically. So some of it you're going to see, and some of it you're not. I'll say it that way. Like I just don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, you will not see like the past stuff in depth. Like it's not going to be like, oh my god, this is what happened. So, but we do know what that story is, and we'd love to tell it sometime. That whole story is like its own arc. It's its own
story
in the past, and how Katalis chooses its rulers, and all of that stuff is all tied into that lore.
Do you think that story will ever be told in like?
I hope so. Yeah, I would hope so, that we can tell that story in some format someday for sure, because it's really cool, and we have concept art for some of it, and it's a really neat story. Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
I was just gonna say, in like 10 years, when you're running a TV studio, like, we want you to call us and greenlight.
Yeah, that's right.
we will come make it at that point. So
yeah, that's right.
Or 12 years, however long. Take your time.
I was gonna say it's a tight order for him, but yeah, let's give him 10 or 12 years, and then we'll show up.
Yeah, we will make sure to do that, so you can greenlit like the Orphan Queen plot. That would be so cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll consider this a binding contract for later on.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I guess like on the topic of backstory, our next question is about Aaravos' backstory, because one of the biggest reveals this season, of course, is his backstory and like his titanic size. So we wanted to talk about that with respect to his prison. So first we noticed that his prison is hidden in the skeleton at the bottom of the Sea of the Cast Out. So we wanted to like ask if those bones are Leola's bones, and if his prison is modeled off of the cottage home we see in like the flashback sequence. And if so, we're wondering what that might mean about how well his backstory was known to other characters in the past. So does this mean that the jailer and presumably the Orphan Queen was familiar with the place Aaravos lived and the story behind Leola's death?
All your speculation is good. I would restate a line you have heard, which is sometimes the line between mercy and cruelty can be thin. I believe there was probably some sense of creating a prison that was a projection of home and safety for him. So my belief is that the spell or whatever it was that the jailer was able to use with the pearl projected and created a place where he felt safe and happy, but that became his prison. And so it was probably intended to be a kindness for your eternal. I mean, it's a kindness, but it's also if you can create a prison where someone is hopefully comfortable and happy, they don't try as hard to escape than if it was like a torturous, chamber where he's going to be spending every day obsessing over how to get out. So both reasons are there. And then I think there's some similar sense to why they hid it within the carcass, of his fallen daughter. Is, there's someone somewhere probably thought that was ironic and twisted to do, and someone thought, well, we'll return him to the heart of where he was happy again, the line between mercy and cruelty can be thin, is what I would say.
So yeah, it's kind of like, so basically that line relates to how his prison was crafted, kind of.
I think it's sort of. I mean, I think the idea that let's say they had put him in a featureless void and there's nothing in it, right? That's almost more cruel than like giving him his house and his books and like a fireplace and stuff that he can do and see, because they don't expect him to ever be able to get out, right? Like the intention is that like they know that they've trapped him and they're trying to put him in a place in such a way. They try to construct with the jailer and stuff to construct a way to keep it so that anybody would ever be able to free him and get him out. But he's really powerful, right? And so I think building that in such a way that it's not like completely inhumane, right? Now on the other side, you could argue it's pretty inhumane to actually put the jail in the corpse of his own child, right? But I think, like Aaron said, like that could be seen as like a mercy or a twisted fate, depending on how you look at it.
All right, so this is a question for Aaron. So Aaron, you mentioned in our previous interview that Startouch elves exist in the heavens and choose when they want to manifest materially. In the show's lore, it's also confirmed that the majority of Zadians have never seen or interacted with a Startouch elf, but in season 6, Aaravos reveals that he used to live in Zadia among humans and elves, with Leola considering them as her friends. He also has a cottage and uses the key of Aaravos to open a spellbook, as was teased in the posters, of course, like the promotional posters for season 6. Can you tell us more about what he was doing in Xadia around that time? Because knowing the danger of the cosmic order, why was he living with other humans? And has there been other Startouch elves living on Xadia at some time, maybe even forming a Startouch civilization?
I don't suspect there was a civilization, but if anyone knows about this, it would be the Celestial Elves, who are obsessed with the history and wisdom of the stars and the Startouch Elves. Why he had chosen to be on the mortal plane with Leola, I mean, it may have been for her, right? For her to have an experience growing up in the world of Xadia and not in the stars or whatever, Certainly we know that Laurelion at least spent some time there. I suspect the Merciful One has been there. So I don't think there was ever like a society, but I think the individual over the eons, I think individual Startouch elves have spent time or hundreds of years or eras among the mortals. And then,
have you read Lord of the Rings? It's a little bit, it doesn't matter. I was going to use a comparison. Like Gandalf is a very specific kind of person. He's actually not a human. He's another kind of person, and they sort of travel through the human realms. It's a little bit like that, where there's a few of them that do this, and it's kind of weird that they do, but they have their own reasons. And I think that's a little bit with what Aaravos is.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes they basically what you're saying is that sometimes they, if they want, they can teleport down to Xadia and maybe, I don't know, live among the other humans or elves. But most of them probably did choose to live in the stars.
That's right. There's always...
And it's a little more complicated than just teleporting down, how they materialize, like literally materialize. But yes, they can do that by choice with kind of some magical complication when their stars align.
On the topic of the Startouch elves again, we were wondering if you could tell us a bit more about the Startouch Elf Council and maybe a bit more about how cosmic justice specifically is enforced in Xadia, because based on season 6, it seems like Leola is brought to the council after Sol Regum had somehow reported her to the Startouch elves. Does this mean that Xadians are able to contact Startouch elves? And even if not, given Aaravos' infamy throughout Xadia, why hasn't the Startouch Council taken action against him? I mean, in comparison to Leola, he seems to be guilty of actual crimes, and he seems to have given humans access to dark magic.
I mean, some of that is meant to be mysterious for now. I mean, we have an idea of how it works and what power Startouch elves have over one another, and obviously, we've seen it exercised in this case where, Leola was brought before cosmic justice, and she faced it in a significant way. I mean, why has Aaravos not faced it? Well, you may have to ask, what does it take to face it? How can someone be called before cosmic justice? How does that work? So that's stuff that we have thought about, but I kind of don't want to fully get into right now. I mean, what I would say is that Aaravos's kind of current experience, which may have and kind of agenda, which may be playing out over hundreds or 1,000 years or so, is really a blink of an eye for Startouch elves, right? So maybe he will face it at some point.
I will also say that Cosmic Justice is a great band name, so if you want to start a band, feel free to use that.
Or maybe he's entitled to do what he's doing. I don't know. I mean, you don't know until you know. So, but I will say the main thing is that time plays out across a longer stretch from the perspective of the Startouch elves than from our perspective.
So yeah, that makes sense. And if Aaravos is now living in Xadia now, right? He spent most of his time in Xadia. He never really went back to the stars, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe that's kind of why you're saying he has this kind of human perspective of time that the Startouch elves who live in the heavens don't have.
I think that's pretty insightful, right? I was just gonna say, I think it's pretty insightful to say that Aaravos has a better sense of humans than probably the other Startouch elves do, because he has had some contact with them over the years, as opposed to the ones that are in the stars are just kind of looking down and being there's all these things going on that they can kind of witness, whereas he is like directly interacting with them. And so I think you can definitely assume that he has a much better sense of human lifespans and what humans can do in a certain amount of time and those kinds of things. Whereas the Startouch elves are a little more out of touch, that are up in the heaven. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess that's really interesting because I feel like in many of our conversations about like Startouch elves, like they're these like immortal beings who don't seem to have any check on their power because they can't really be killed. In the most traditional sense, they can only be killed by presumably like cosmic justice. So it seems really interesting that like at least they would have that sort of check on the power. So I guess like our next question is more of a speculative question based on like other aspects of the lore. So when Aaravos is talking to the Startouch Council, we noticed that one of the Startouch elves tells him that Leola's act of giving humans magic is the beginning of the end. And in Tales of Xadia, there's mention of this artifact, which is like the claw of a void dragon that's called an Etiam et Finis, which is said to have granted a person's wish. So similarly, the first mention of Leola in the series is when Rayla points out this constellation named Leola's Last Wish. So we're sort of wondering if there might be a connection between what the Startouch elf is talking about with the beginning of the end and this void dragon artifact. And if there isn't, could you talk a little bit more about Leola's Last Wish and what implications that might have for the story in terms of it being like a constellation?
They're not connected. So those are two separate things. The void dragon claw is more like a relic of like an ancient magic relic, basically. Mm-hmm. And it just happens to share the same name. It would be like having a dragon fire armor and a dragon fire shield, and they're different things, but they kind of share similar names. But they're not the same thing. In terms of, I'll hand it to Aaron for Leola's Last Wish.
Yeah, and I would say you will find out more about some of that in season 7. Some of this stuff with the Startouch elves is, well, you know what? You'll find out more in season 7.
We can do an interview after season 7.
Yeah, we need another one.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So we're getting away from Startouch elves a bit. We were wondering if you could tell us about one of the main characters, Terry's background and story. Obviously, he's very devoted to Claudia and helping her out, but this constantly comes at an extremely high cost. Because of Claudia, he is forced to kill Ibis, basically betray the other elves and dragons, and of course release Aaravos. But it's been hard for us to understand what's in it for him besides supporting Claudia. Can you tell us more about his background, maybe his family and his motives?
So some of learning more about where he's from would come in a story we wanted to tell between season 3 and season 4. We used to call it book 3.5, which is largely focused on Claudia's journey into Xadia over the 2 years as she's trying to do everything she needs to do to bring her father back. But it also has the story of Rayla as she tries to hunt for Viren and fails, and it ultimately has Claudia meeting and falling in love with Terry. So that's where you would have some of that story. In terms of like who he is and what he struggles with, yeah, he's obviously a really kind-hearted, wonderful person. And he's not wrong to love Claudia. Claudia is a wonderful person who has made some bad mistakes, who is walking a dark path, and it's complicated. And in our lives, we attach ourselves and love people who have flaws and failures, and it can lead us down the wrong path. Where does that stop for Terry? Where does he say, stop, I can go no further? Like, I don't know. Or does he redirect her onto a different path, But those are certainly going to be tensions within Terry that we see play out. But I definitely see them as kind of realistic representations of conflicts we all have in our life. If we're really lucky, maybe the people we love are all on easy paths and happy paths and righteous paths. I don't know the word righteous, but but sometimes people in our lives make choices that are not what we think are wise or good choices, and you still love them. But how do you deal with that? I don't have an answer, but we're posing the question.
Yeah, that makes sense because like Terry was really devoted to Claudia in these seasons, so it does make sense. Like, okay, maybe it's because Terry really cares about Claudia for a reason. But yeah, I'll just leave that up to book 3.5. At this year's SDCC panel, it was announced that we would potentially be getting 3 more seasons of The Dragon Prince after season 7. Can you talk a bit more about the future of the Dragon Prince saga and what fans can expect after season 7 comes out this December?
Sure. We have a story to tell that is past season 7. It has not been picked up by Netflix or anybody, so it still remains a future goal for the project. The season 7 is going to be an amazing culmination of everything we've set up for the last 6 seasons, and so you could think of it as like the end of a part of the story, right? Like there's always going to be more stories to tell in Zadia, but like this is a concrete beginning and end. Season 1 to season 7 is like a very specific set of characters and times, and it'll be very satisfying. I hope that everybody sees the end of it and gets a sense of it. That being said, because we've been scheming on this thing for a while now, we have stories like we said before that are set before, like the Orphan Queen, and some other ones that we thought of, as well as ones that take place afterwards. And so we would love to be able to tell those stories somewhere, especially the ones that come afterwards, which is very specific arc and set of characters. But we need everybody to watch the show and tell everybody they know to watch the show, so we can get big numbers and get Netflix to be like, yeah, let's do more of these things. But yes, we would absolutely love to tell the post 7 world, and it'll be a very cool thing when we get to do that. So, and you might be the one who greenlights it. I don't know. So we'll see.
Right. And I will say the third arc involves some new characters, some of the characters from the first 7, the ones who survived season 7. But it's an evolution, or it is a next part of the story.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. And yeah, of course, we have to know that has to also get greenlit, seasons 8 to 10. So I hope it does.
So tell everybody you know. That's the best way to help.
Worst case scenario, we'll write it and perform it as a puppet show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. An interactive puppet show, maybe.
Yeah.
While people come up and play parts. It'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to maybe hype up season 7?
Besides just saying it's awesome, which is, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is like, we put everything on the table, so there's a lot of stuff that goes on. It's a very cool season. And you will see things that you might not expect. I don't know. It's awesome. It's an awesome season. You can check it out.
Packs a lot of things. It's gonna be a lot of things happening because, of course, it is the finale of this saga, I believe. So yeah, it's gonna be really big.
So I guess did you want to go into
we have some fan questions because we gathered some fan questions. I made a community post earlier today asking for some fans, like if you could ask creators anything, what would it be? And we got some responses, and we're just gonna pick I guess how many do you want to do both
2?
of them?
Yeah.
So for the first one we got, it says, are we going to get more elf lore in season 7? As the seasons went by, we have yet to see anything about the other elf kingdoms aside for the Sunfire one, and we have barely seen any hidebound elves or earthblood elves.
We'll just have to see. I mean, the story, as we're getting to a season 7 that's focusing on characters we know, things tend to focus. I mean, there are new places and new characters, but in terms of exploring all new regions and things like that, one of the ideas was that for folks who want to check out the Dragon Prince Zadia game, that's a way to see new places and regions. It's available on Netflix Games, and so
there's a ton of new elves in there and stuff. There's all kinds of cool stuff. So yes,
in terms of the story, we just have to get to it when we get to it. May take some seasons to get to those new places, but absolutely, the other thing is I've seen great fan fiction and fan art of people who are exploring those places on their own, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, I see a lot of that fan art. People are they're really interested in seeing what's in those other kingdoms. So it's nice to see that we're getting some fan stuff going on.
There is also some of that in Tales of Zadia in the source book.
Yeah,
there is some. There's not a ton, but there is some from the other elven kingdoms and elvish characters.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Do you want to go to the next?
I don't know. This is kind of specific. Like this is
I mean,
a little bit too specific, but
we
I
can
guess
just
should we
ask
do it? I don't know. All right,
Do
I think
it.
we should do it. All right. So this person wrote in: Is the Nova Blade hidden deep in the rubble of Katalas Castle?
We can't say. But
Yeah, I expected
what
that.
do you
This
what do you
is
think?
really-
I think because of the implication that it was like the Orphan Queen who got the Nova Blade, and obviously in the Banther Lodge they had like the key of Aaravos. So.
Yeah.
To me, it's a good. It seems like a reasonable thing to speculate about.
Yeah.
We know where it was a few hundred years ago. Where if you had to guess where it is and put a pin somewhere, where would it be? Maybe where we know she ended up, which was as the ruler of Katalas.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe this is a possibility, but do you want to get into another fan question? I could like pick one on the spot right now.
Yeah, we can like
We can
look.
do one more. It's up to you. Whatever you guys want to do.
Do you want us to do one more? Because I feel like that one was a little too specific.
I guess there was one that asked
There was an
about
interesting
like
one.
Zubea. So just like asking if Zubea is going to make an appearance in the next season.
And what will they do now that Aaravos is out? Like we know that the danger is not over. Like Aaravos is out now. Like what will they think of Aaravos? Like what will they do?
Tune in to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little too specific as well.
We can't really say, but you should watch season 7.
I know I would go try to talk to Zubea, maybe.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like that's what I would do. And but yeah, in terms of what people will, there's a lot that people are going to be figuring out as the season starts that they don't know yet. So it's hard to imagine how they will react to the different things they have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that means like there's gonna be revelations in season 7, basically. Like a lot of them.
Well, there have to be, because as you end season 6, people don't know all the things that have happened to each other. Not everyone knows what's happened in Katalas. Not everyone knows that Aaravos has returned. Not everyone, even knows that the pearl was the wrong pearl that he took to the, so there are things that characters have yet to uncover.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, so I guess with that, I'm sorry about like timing. I know we're sort of like running out of time, but thank you so much for your
thank
time
you so
today,
much
for like letting us interview you both. We were definitely really excited to have a chance to just even meet you guys. I guess before closing out, is there anything else you would like to add or say to promote season 7?
It's awesome. It's huge. It's a big season. Lots of stuff happens. It's a tour de force. It's
December 19th. We're excited that we're able to bring it so soon after season 6, and there's more Zadia story if we want it.
Yeah,
if we all want it.
And also the game. Go play the game. It's called Zadia. You can get it on the App Store or through the Netflix app, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's very fun.
Great.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for season 7. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this interview.
Yeah.
So I was glad to talk to you guys today.
It was great to meet you all.
Thanks.
Let's do another one after season 7.
Yeah, another interview after season 7.
After you'll be home for Christmas break probably, so we can figure something out.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah,
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Bye.